Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I am coming back so soon to discuss with you a whole new series that I wanted to launch on my channel. And I'm going to tell you, the personal story to it and kind of what inspired me. But I feel a lot of us are getting this time of, to have that self-reflection. And this would be a very good time to be able to come together and be able to talk about our issues or our problems and our struggles. Many times you have to book an appointment with me or book an appointment with somebody else to get an energy reading or some kind of psychic healing. And I realized that deep inside my soul is this need to help everyone, but at the same time, I can't. Although I can provide a space where we all help one another and each other. And alongside the Elven Light University, I thought that these videos were incredibly important. They're not particularly Tolkien focused or Elven wisdom in the idea of, connecting to nature, but it is about our state of mental health and what I can provide through experience and through my wisdom of going through some really hard times. I no longer really feel alone or like a freak or crazy as other people might experience. But at one point in time, I did. And I wanted to provide that space to be able to really just talk to each other. So this particular series of videos are going to be Q&As. And at the end, we will go as long as we need to discuss things, to share our stories. I'll share your story if you leave me your comment on there for others to hear. And this is a chance for us to kind of use this space on my channel to really clear our minds and move into this state of higher consciousness. And how do you do that is by really kind of shining a light in the darkness of your own mind. And I truly do believe that. I'm not somebody that has ever believed in pushing things away or just imagining figures of light, as Carl Jung talks about. But how we get there is very important in the journey. And one way we can do that is by discussing some of these really deep topics, such as depression, suicidal thoughts, darker thoughts, feeling unloved, self-isolation, and all those kind of thoughts that we go through. This will be a video series that focuses on basically a singular topic of mental health, and then we can talk about it. And what I wanted to do was, in many ways, the way my mind works, and you probably have figured this out, is I like to connect ideas and I like to see things in my reality that support and give evidence to some of the intuitive truths that I come across. And one way I do that is through movies and books. So same thing that I do with Tolkien, with Lord of the Rings, to understand, elven souls more, to understand the way that the elves think and the way that they act. It is the exact same thing that I do with all movies, that I find some kind of resonance. Not all movies are important to me, but there are some that are particularly soulful, deep, spiritual truth that the director put forward, or the writer even created because of a special message that they wanted to get across. So I wanted to start with this. I think the overall theme of my channel has been to help people feel not alone, because I once did. And so I understand why people may feel that way. And so this particular channel is kind of centered around that theme with a bit of elven wisdom and some other things. But this video is going to be about feeling alone And I wanted to read to you. This is kind of a profound experience I had when I just came across this video, this movie called Charlie Bartlett. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but my husband and I, we like to watch movies together. It's the way that we connect, because he's not very expressive with his self very openly. He needs movies to stimulate conversation. So I find that that's our way of connecting. So we watch movies together at night, and that's just our way of, like, just having a quality time together. And we came across a movie called Charlie Bartlett. And I'm always looking for spiritually uplifting movies. And this one in particular, I'm going to cry, just because the actor within this movie, his name is Anton Yelkin, or Yelchin, and he's a Russian actor, and he's no longer with us. He actually sadly died in an accident in 2016, I believe, and known as a freak accident, where his body was pinned against his mailbox. His friends found him when he didn't show up to, I guess, a movie rehearsal or something at the set. And Anton, I don't know, every time I see a movie of his, he was in Hearts of Atlantis, which is an amazing movie based on a Stephen King book about a man who had psychic abilities and had to hide from society, and especially those who wanted to take advantage of him. Hearts of Atlantis is a wonderful movie. Not so much into the reading of Stephen King, but that movie was very well done. And he was the little boy. So every time I see Anton in movies, I get a very strange sense that he was a very good soul that did kind of what he had to do on Earth, and then he left us. And that's kind of why he had that freak accident. It always makes me a little teary-eyed when I think about him, because of the way that I read into his energy through his roles, and kind of just looking into his life a little bit and seeing where he was, to be able to take on those roles, because actors and actresses, they take on roles because they have that capacity to play those parts. What you are seeing is the real personality of a person, in a multidimensional way. So anyway, Anton played Charlie Bartlett, and this movie is brilliant in the idea that it talks about basically a rich teenager, who starts to see that his classmates and people that he goes to school with have all these mental anguish and problems, and they have nobody really to talk to, or they have a guidance counselor, but the guidance counselor doesn't really do much, and the psychologists, they kind of prescribe Ritalin and drugs. So it is a commentary on the way that we handle mental illness, when it's really about just allowing a soul, a person, to be themselves, to kind of complete a cycle of self-expression, whether that be to talk about the pain that they have experienced, or whether that be to just be uniquely them without being laughed at or called a freak. So this movie is wonderful, and there's a part in it when he's talking to this boy that tried to commit suicide by taking pills. And so he goes to his house, and he's just like, hey, are you still suicidal? Are you still a suicidal maniac? That's what he said, in teenage boy talk. And the boy answers back, and he's like, it's great that you came over to the house, but truly, you don't need to. I mean, nothing's going to change. He says, no one knows I exist. The last girl who spoke to me was in the 3rd grade. I have no friends. I am an idiot. And you at least have friends. How could you possibly know what it's like? And Charlie Bartlett, the character, says, I think you are missing the big picture. And he's like, what big picture? The universe. So I'm not going to give too much away about the movie, but I think it's a magical movie. I think it's one that every high school should show, every adult should even watch it. We are entering an age of spiritual evolution and development where you're going to start to see that reflected in your reality. Movies are going to be deeper. You're going to experience a transparency of the heart and of the soul. And I thought, well, might as well be an example of that here. So these videos are going to be to really open our hearts and discuss things kind of in privacy. I mean, my face is out there, but you are just behind a screen name. So you could basically tell your whole life story in private in a way. But if you have, any kind of story of struggle and triumph, this is a place to put it. And this is a place that I will talk about things in regards to how people get over these obstacles. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was my own personal life in a way, where I struggled, and I still do, being called a freak. So one of the videos that I watched today with my husband, we watch a lot of movies, was All the Bright Places. And All the Bright Places is with Dakota Fanning, I believe. And it's this really touching movie about this girl who loses her sister in a car accident. Basically, she's really depressed and suicidal, and she meets this boy. He is the manic pixie. If any of you film buffs understand that, and I will do a video on the manic pixie and how it relates to the fairy energy, because it's very intuitively felt by directors of what the manic pixie character brings as an element to film or theater even. The idea that manic pixie is a character that is a little manic in terms of a little different, a little out there, a little eccentric, a little weird maybe, but there's magic in that. The magic comes from not necessarily their powers or anything, but it's about their ability to be themselves. And in that place of transparency, they inspire the other characters that enter their life. So the manic pixie is a very real formula in films. It's one of my favorite, only because I believe it works. I've seen it work, and it puts a little bit of magic into the world. I think when we watch movies like that, we love to see characters that are uplifted and brought back out of the darkness by somebody who helps show them their light. So I really love the idea of it. And so this was a male manic pixie in All the Bright Places. And he comes into Dakota Fanning's world, or is it Ella Fanning? I think it's Ellie. Ella Fanning, yes, because she played Sleeping Beauty. So whoever it was, one of the sisters who played Sleeping Beauty, he comes into her world and kind of saves her by simply giving her a chance to kind of be herself and to, express herself. And I just thought, while watching these movies, this is the way life needs to be. And we don't have to go to the movies or read a book to experience that. We can create that on our very own in reality. So my channel will provide that. And we're going to get very deep, and we're going to bare our hearts and souls for others to see. And I personally don't care. If you care, then you absolutely don't have to participate. But this is a way that we will have Q&A after every single video, because this is not going to be lecture style in the idea of, I have notes that I've taken and I have a set goal, and then I'm concerned about the time, so I end it without, answering your questions, but you guys chat, amongst yourself, so it works out that way. But this will be a little bit different. So, along with that idea of the idea of Charlie Bartlett and All the Bright Places, I wrote this. Besides the suicidal boy that's in the Charlie Bartlett movie that he tries to help, and what happens is he starts to open up, I guess, the bathroom as a confession place so other high schoolers can come and sit down and they can talk to him. And there's a couple characters that really stick out of my mind. There's a really pretty, kind girl that felt like she had to sleep with all the boys to be liked. And she came to him, she's like, I'm depressed and I don't really know why, but I guess I give myself away to every boy and nobody really wants to date me. And so, he's like, well, I think if you give the right boy a chance, you would find somebody who would really, honor you and the way you deserve. So, I mean, this kid was very wise. It's a very good movie in that way. And then he also is able to befriend a bully and make the bully see that he's actually a good person, and that there's no fear that he needs to have of showing that side. So, these types of movies really help the human soul, and even the elven soul, come into a self-realization of the way that people feel alone within their own mind and like a freak. Part of All the Bright Places movies, one of the words that he says, I'm not going to give away the ending, but one of the kind of phrases he says all the time is like, I'm a freak. And he is basically just parroting what others have said about him because others have called him a freak. So here's what I think is going on in terms of mental health and illness and wellness, how to get to that place. And I have been to the dark side and I have gone through it and I've entered into the light. And what I can say is this, is that when we are born, we suffer through certain events that shape us. It kind of molds us and it starts to develop our ego identity. And unfortunately, some of these events are really negative, where they contain abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, not by just parents, but by peers at school, by friends that you make who aren't really your friend, that you find out. And so you have these characters that are in your life that cause you all these struggles and obstacles. And what happens is, through the way that they treat you, through their abuse of you, you start to tell yourself that you deserve that treatment, or that's basically who you are. You're a damaged person. Nobody can ever love you because of what you go through. And so you start to build this negative self-tape that plays in your mind. And that self-tape is very hard to erase because it's your memories of your past experiences combined with your ego identity that is also trying to keep you asleep in a way in the game of duality. So the best way to move into the higher places of consciousness is to really change that self-talk tape within your mind. It truly is about fighting the darkness within. And so the darkness is outside as well, but the darkness is within, and it's within your mind. And the most that we find when people talk about, oh, I have no friends, or nobody likes me, or I'm an idiot, as these characters said, or, no one can love me, or that is an echo of that darkness that you have experienced. And so the way that you can fight that darkness within you is by bringing light, illumination to the soul. And the way to do that is, my personal opinion, through all the years that I have been doing this, is about self-expression and getting it out there and talking to others. Here's why it works. Well, self-expression can be done in many ways. Tolkien did it through Lord of the Rings. All of the thoughts in his mind that made him different, made him feel like a freak or unique, he wrote those down, and he created a world for us to believe in, to feel part of, and resonate with, those that really love him and his words. You can create art. You can self-express those thoughts and feelings within you through other means than just talking. But it's more therapeutic, it's healing to be able to talk to others. And I have gone through several forms of counseling all my life. Just to tell you my personal story, many of you know that I lost my mother at a young age. Try being a freshman in high school, losing your mother, and having immature kids around you who don't understand what you're going through. So I spent most of my time in the guidance counselor office by a really welcoming woman that was there for me. And, she was an angel, in my life. And if I didn't have her, I would be standing on the ledge of a bridge many more times than I had. But I had her, and I had a place to go. But many people don't have that, or maybe they're not given the permission to talk to someone, or maybe they don't have it in their school or in their environment that they grew up in. I did have that. So at least I did. And even though I didn't have a safe space to talk at home, because although my father was a very spiritual man, he was also a very hurt man because he lost his wife, his best friend. So it's very much the story of Elrond and Arwen. I tread it very lightly around him, and I never wanted to express how much I missed my mother because my father lost his soulmate. His I'm not sure if she was his twin flame, but in many ways I do believe. But at the same time, that's kind of why I had nobody growing up, because I could not burden my father. And he was not at a place mentally where he could talk about those things with me. And so what I realized is that when I got to the point where I could live on my own and I could make the decisions on my own, and I was outside of high school, then I started to go to group counseling, and I started to talk and meet with others. I did a lot of that all my life. I would find counselors periodically. And that's why I'm happy to, be a spiritual counselor in a way to those that are in need. And in some way, it helps me become more independent and doing things that I really love to do, which is what I've always wanted to do with my life, to feel happy. But I will say that the most healing therapeutic thing to do is to talk to others. And the reason why it works is because when you talk to others, you find out that you're not really alone, that there's no such thing as a freak or an odd one, or you're crazy. And here's why. It's because consciousness is infinitely expressed. So nobody has a blueprint for normal. Nobody in this world knows what normal is. And I always use normal with quotes because it's ingrained in society to be normal or to act normal. But at the same time, everybody has their own unique personality and traits and quirks and eccentric parts of ourselves that make us who we are. And so the point of this, I guess, in these series is to be able to have a Q&A where we talk about things together. And each video will be focused on a particular topic of depression or self-loathing, or really dark things, darker thoughts. And we'll talk about it. And this will be a channel which will give you that space and that place. And we can do that together. That way we can move into really acquiring the higher consciousness that it takes in order to embrace the elven light. Because the elven light is not one that is hindered by darkness within our own minds. We must clear the darkness within our minds first in order to embrace the elven light. And so these are the strong feelings that I have gotten from my higher guides in many ways, to ensure that there was a place for this on my channel, as well as some fun things, because I am all about balance. So we're going to get into some darker topics together, and we're going to peel away the layers of, secrecy or darkness within each other, and we're going to get to the light. And at the same time, I hope that we can have fun and talk about elvish things. And so that is still going to happen. But for those of you that are really ready to take that brave step into the brave new world, in an idea of really talking with others and, either affirming all the growth that you have made throughout these years, or ready to grow and heal from some of the past pains and the traumas that you have experienced. Something that is always true in every movie, every book, every song, every personal story on earth, is that you will go through some form of tragedy, some really hard emotional time and obstacle. But you will always be able to get through it if you remain on earth. If you don't remain on earth, then that's the escape. And the escape is not the escape that people think. The escape is about having to come back and redo. You do not get to spiritual bypass and move into the higher realms of consciousness simply by taking your life and not dealing with your problems on earth. It doesn't exist, because the soul is always looking for spiritual growth, always looking for evolving. And that is the higher truth that I can give you, that I have realized through all of my years of pain. So that's why I've been somebody that, has been kind of indirectly and directly speaking against suicide in the way that I believe that it doesn't do anything to heal or to move away from your problems. And you may find them once again in another incarnation. So why don't you decide that this is the lifetime to take care of those issues? If you're aware enough to notice that you're not feeling good, that there's a sense of darkness within you, or you hold a lot of anger or resentment or sadness from things that have happened to you in your life, well, then now is the time to talk about it, to move forwards into that light. And through the Elven Light University, I'm going to have that on my channel till the end of my days, I guess. And really that's about embracing the inner light. But how can you find the inner elven light without actually clearing away that darkness first within you? And the only way to do it is to talk about it. And I know that not everybody has the resources to talk about it, and maybe they don't feel safe to talk about it with everyone. I did put the suicide hotline number on there. I've called it before, and the people are very nice, but let's be honest, you don't know who they are on the other side. And a person who is suicidal may be thinking, well, I don't want to burden others. I don't want to talk about my problems. So maybe they just need to know the person they're talking to. And maybe that's the secret about talking somebody down from the ledge. So these movies I would recommend during your time if you are at home and you just want some spiritually uplifting movies. I would say that 3 movies I've watched, and they have really inspired me into this really beautiful direction of believing in where we're heading and just seeing kind of the light through the darkness. I love it. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. That is a great one with Keira Knightley and Steve Carell. And Keira Knightley, she's like a little elfin soul. I always love her videos. She's quirky, beautiful, but there's something odd about her. But Keira Knightley is one of my favorite actresses, and she does a brilliant job in this video. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. It's on Netflix. And All the Bright Places and Charlie Bartlett. The last 2 are kind of considered like teen romance movies, but they're pretty deep. They're pretty spiritual. And I believe that they should be shown in high schools. These are the types of movies we need to get more people to see, and not just those that are looking for it. You know, like me, I was looking for spiritually uplifting movies, but those that might be not looking for it. So if we can have it in places like schools, you know, to bring forward that social emotional growth, I think that's really helpful. All teenagers really need to hear, and even adults, is that they're not alone. They're not alone in what they go through. And all of the scars that you carry, all the pain that you carry, all of that will slowly go away through time, through self-realizations of kind of unfolding truths to you about why you went through those painful moments and what it makes you today. And so nobody is alone, and there's no such thing as normal, and everybody is weird, and we're all mad. We're all crazy in a way. And I had the title You Are Not Crazy because we are all crazy in a way, in the idea that we are complex souls holding different parts of consciousness within us, multidimensional realities within us, that these realities exist that are solely within us. And sometimes people don't understand it, but you will find others who do. And I think that's a really great thing. You know, my channel, I have 11,000 subscribers, but only I notice about 200 to 300 people actually come onto my videos and watch them within a week. And so the 200, 300 people who do that, you are the ones that truly resonate with me. You're not just clicking subscribe because it's Elven Wisdom or you like the Pleiadians. You are resonating with my words on a very deep level. And I'm happy to take this journey with you. And I'm ready to bear it all. I was born for this. And so let's take some Q&A. I guess you guys can ask me questions if you want. We can talk about things, share your experiences with feeling alone. In particular, this video is about that. So yes, Maigavan and all of you, welcome, welcome. So Moriko says, a film that gave me a lot to think about was Nosar Lar. Right now, my mind is shrouded in fog. Too many voices, too many chaotic energies around us here. Okay, I'm going to look that up right now. Nosa Lar. Is that must be a foreign film here. Is it Spanish or? Oh, absolutely. Astral City, A Spiritual Journey. Yes. So I know it by the English name. Astral City, A Spiritual Journey. And this is a wonderful movie for many of you to watch. It is based off of the psychic Francisco Xavier. And this movie is a Spanish foreign film that shows what happens to souls when they leave this earth and they enter into kind of this place of, it's like a holding place before heaven, but it's beautiful. It's like a very peaceful land, and you have a council that is kind of the intermediaries or the mediums to God and the higher ups. And it's a really well done film showing how the souls that are in this state of heaven or afterlife are meant to perform some type of healing even in the afterlife. So you're not completely, it's not like when you die from here, you're unburdened with all of your problems. If you don't clear your conscience within this lifetime, you're going to bring it into the afterlife. And that psychic talked about it and showed kind of the journey of one man who was very selfish with his time and with his money and didn't give enough time to his family. And when he died, he entered into this place of, he had to make it up. He had to learn to be a nurse to the souls that were coming in, the new souls that were coming into kind of this heaven or the astral city, as they call it. And so it's a wonderful movie. Yes, I agree. That is a really great movie. I watched it many years ago, and I actually bought one of his books as well about the afterlife, and I have not read it yet. So maybe I'll do that during my time off till April 20th. I can't believe it, but the school systems are really trying to keep everybody safe. So yes, Astral City, thank you for mentioning that. That is a wonderful book because it really is about healing, and not just healing on an earthly level, but healing in the afterlife too. That what you do in the afterlife, it follows you, so there's really no such thing as escape from your problems. Life is existence itself. And what you may find is that prime source, the all that is comprised of all of these problems and these negative things that we have to deal with, because that is life itself, is learning to move forwards and evolve from them. That's a great movie. Thank you. And then Sola V Studio says, at Faith or Pandora, I'm new to the channel. What does my Gavana mean? Oh, it means well met. Well met in Tolkien's Elvish, in Siderian, that you hear in the Lord of the Rings movies. So yeah, well met, like well met. And then Marilyn Pirion, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering all your names. Thank you for being across the ocean and joining my channel. Beautiful description of the actors. Of the different actors, like Antoine. Yeah, rest in peace, that soul. I tell you, every time I see his movies, I'm just like, I can't believe he was pinned and killed like that in a freak accident. But I understand it. I understand that, if you watch him in movies and you see his characters that he often plays, then you might see that he was kind of done here. And maybe that was his way out in a way. Okay, so let me just focus on more of the mental health kind of topic. And then Moriko says, what surprises me is the similarity between the missions of the starseeds on this planet and the purpose of those who are the service of others is this earthly paradise for these tormented souls. Yeah, and that movie does explain that very well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what makes us different than a person who doesn't want to kind of focus on the spiritual nature of things, or, be a light worker, spreading messages of spiritual kind of awareness in the world. It's hard for me to put myself in their shoes, but I know that they come from Prime Source. I know that they are a spark of the divine too. And it's just, they represent a place in consciousness that is just not at that place where a starseed would be or an incarnate earth angel would be, because it's about focus, and it has a lot to do with where you came from before birth to earth. It's about what was the consciousness that you carried within your soul in the womb as you entered on earth. And it's not a hierarchy. It is about what your personal choices have just kind of driven you on the spiritual journey. Eventually, we all get to the same place. Absolutely, I believe 100%. But we all represent different places now because this is a physical world and we're not really back with source. We're all kind of fragmented. So that's what I do believe. And I think the only difference between me and like someone like my husband, who helps people in his own way, but it's not really spiritually like me, but it's in a different form. It's just about focus. Souls like me and you and those 300 people that come to my channel and see my videos every week, you are resonating with me because we are part of that particular focus and interests in this world. We're looking for the deeper meanings. We're looking for the spiritual truths. And I would say we're at like stage, the stage 4 or maybe 5 in the Palladian timeline, in the idea of the way that your soul develops, it determines what your focus is. And if your focus is on spiritual matters, it means that in your last incarnations, in your past lifetimes, you have kind of mastered, or you have already been there, done that with just the physical things. Like you were a greedy king, you were someone who was just focused on material wealth and power. You were that many, many ages ago, but you're in this lifetime with a focus of the spiritual. And that's what my channel, I guess, kind of radiates out and brings those types of people, because that's where I am. And so those are the people that come to my channel. And so it's wonderful to be able to feel not alone, because I think that many people feel that way. And I would like to reach out to those that, don't feel like starseeds. That's not part of their identity. But at the same time, they feel like a freak, or strange, or different, or, not liked. Like the kid said, I have no friends. I have no friends and all that. The idea of no one knows I exist. I have no friends. I'm an idiot. That is the mind of someone that just has not seen the light yet of their eternal selves or their soul. And they haven't joined with the universe mentally to see that the universe is not just us, it's a collective, and it loves all beings the same. And it's about spiritual development and aligning back to that source. And so Charlie says the right thing here. Well, you're missing the big picture, the universe. And I just think that, maybe that actor, Anton, who passed away, that was who he really was. He was maybe somebody that could see the big picture, the universe. And so in many ways, that's maybe why he left in that, really tragic way. And there's something that he said too that I wrote down. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I will talk about it now, is that there's a conversation that takes place where he says, well, what about the universe? The kid who was suicidal said. And he goes, well, the universe is a pretty big place. And he goes, well, yes, that's theoretically infinite, I guess. And so Charlie says, well, that means there's probably life on other planets. And the suicidal kid says, his name's Kip. He says, well, yeah, but not like ours. They're probably single-celled organisms or something. And then Charlie says, well, that's just it. You are a complex human being alive at this time to experience anything that you want, watching videos or, doing any kind of activity that you really want to on Earth, you get to experience that. Whereas a single-celled organism is struggling to just simply move so that it survives and trying to find a way to reproduce. And the Pleiadians talked about that in their book, which I cleaned up everything, so it's over on my bookshelf, about the different stages of human cycle, of human souls, and that every single one of us at one point in time, either on Earth or on another planet, started off as a single-celled organism. We were amoebas at one point. So you have to think about all those ages of growth and evolution to get to this point in time now. And that's what many people forget, to look at themselves as a complex soul. And so it's not so much about trying to fit in, it's about realizing where you're different, how you're unique, and how you can use those abilities to shine, to express yourself, and to create. And that's what I have learned over time. And that's what Charlie Bartlett was teaching. I was like, yes, that's great, because that's exactly what it's about. And you discover that as you go through your life, that if you spend your life trying to fit in with others and not feel like a freak or different, you're never going to find it. Because each one of us is a freak in some way, or different and unique, and we feel that within our own mind. We feel very isolated and alone there. But when we allow our mind to join minds with others, that's when we don't feel alone. That's when that magic happens of feeling a familiarity, a friendship. And friendship is really what people need in terms of feeling like they don't matter in this life, and that they'd be better off, dying. Many suicides are about feeling like they just don't exist, or that they don't matter, that their existence doesn't matter. And so really it's about bringing what's inside here outwards to connect to others, and then learning as you process that information that others experience the same thing you do. We just all do it differently and at different times in our lives. And some of us are quiet about it, and some of us are loud about it. And some of us are, now trying to heal from it, and are trying to grow and move forwards. So that's definitely what I can say. I'm going to go back here. And we got the No Solar, or the astral city, and I should write that in the links there. If you could put the English name too, that would be good for others. The Astral City. That is a hard movie to sometimes find. I found it on Amazon Prime, but then sometimes it's taken down. You can't find it. It's not available. If I find the link, I'll put it in the description. So Feral Kitty. Oh, Likey Lalita. Oh, go say that. I'll just say Likey. I will watch Hearts of Atlantis today for sure. Yes, it's a great movie. Oh gosh, who is Anthony Hopkins? He plays this part of this character that you just fall in love with. And Anthony Hopkins sometimes plays really creepy characters a lot of times, but in this one, he's a good guy, and he just has extraordinary psychic abilities. And I like it. I don't think that I like the movie. I don't think I really like the Stephen King book, but that's probably because I didn't really get completely into Dark Towers, which was his whole series, his versions of Lord of the Rings, I guess. Solvi Studio, it's important to explore our shadow side. It has made me a stronger person. Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about just bringing everything that we think inside of us that's we repress and push down, we don't want to look at, and we just bring it out to the light. Feral Kitty, I expressed my quirks and my love for animals and my frustrations with human behavior by making and uploading a comic relief video that also serves as a public service announcement. TP versus pets. Interesting. Okay, so everybody might have to go and take a look at this video. Yeah, its self-expression is a way to send out a light. It's like a beacon to others. It really is. It's like a lighthouse light. And then it sends people your way that can resonate and kind of vibe with you. So I think it's important that we do express ourselves and we never get trapped in the mindset that we're supposed to fit in. No, you're different and you are unique, and we all are special snowflakes, because that's how nature is made, and the idea that nothing is exactly alike. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the enormity and infinity of this universe. And each one of you, when you figure out your special kind of unique quirks and things that make you you, then you can be more you and bring that out to the surface. And then Roxanne, I had a very difficult life from the very beginning, but it was when I came to understand that I chose this incarnation in order for my soul to learn that it all became easier and better. It really, truly does. Because, then you start seeing things as, it's not wishful thinking, it's not hopeful thinking, it's truth, it's evidence of how we heal. We realize that those moments have passed. And yes, they were painful, but it's something that eventually, if you want to move forwards, then you have to let go of those moments. And the only way to do that is to change your perspective and look at it from a different angle and see those moments for what they were. And with the elves of Tolkien, what's really great about them is that they have the ability of hindsight, because they've lived for so many years. So Elrond and Gladriel, they can look back on all those ages, and they have all of that wisdom gained. And that's what can happen to each of us. And we can teach that at a younger age too, I believe. I don't think that it's just for adults. I think that it can happen as soon as your mind starts to mature and be able to hold on and kind of retain information. I mean, those were teen movies that I watched, but they were super spiritual, very spiritual, and very deep. And so that shows me that teenagers are starting to be able to comprehend these deeper, complex ideas about life. And so I think that that's a measure of our new age, for sure. And so I don't think that looking back at your life and seeing that you had to go through what you went through is something that only older people can do. But it can take time to come to that perspective, or you could do it at a young age. So thank you for sharing that, Roxanne. I really appreciate that. And then Bella, that actually makes so much sense to me. My husband has a hard time understanding me and my spiritual journey. Are you talking about the idea of watching movies together, and sometimes like that's the way that you can stimulate conversation with those that are maybe not wanting to talk about spiritual things? Because that's definitely my life. But it's good. I like that, because when I think about it, if I was with somebody that was as open with spiritual information as I was, well, then there wouldn't be any resistance. And so things might get boring, not really a challenge. And maybe that's just what I need in my life right now. But it's nice when we do have those moments of connection through movies. It's great. We have some really deep conversations. And then Rain Weldon, the film about the astral city sounds beautiful. It is. It is one of my favorite foreign films. It's a wonderful, wonderful video. And the set And the way that they created the Astral City is just phenomenal. Like it's an amazing movie. It really truly is. And the wisdom within it is just, it's another level. It's great. It's great for those that are looking for those glimmers of light in the world, looking for that crack into the spiritual. And then Kujam says, women use feeling and relationships as their primary function, as their nature is to care and nurture the vision and seed of a noble man. Well, I think that's definitely one way that I think the divine feminine works in alignment with the divine masculine. But we are learning in this age that we can't claim that that's just a womanly property, or I guess an essence. One of the things that I liked about All the Bright Places was that it was a male manic pixie. I haven't really seen that before. So this was a complete new, I guess, perception of kind of the divine masculine coming in and being a nurturer. So it's a really great movie in that regards. Tarja, I started to feel lonely when my friends bullied me physically by my best friend, and now I'm afraid to trust people. That's really sad. The idea that you had to endure that, here's the thing. If you can see when others are mean to you and when they bully you, that's their shortcomings. If they can't find it within themselves to say something kind or be kind to you or just to be a friend, that's their shortcomings. And shortcomings has to do with the consciousness level that they're at. And that is something that really helps to get over the bullying that I endure all the time on my channel. And I've had to endure all my life. I was a very strange little girl. And although I was into things, like I was on the speech team and drama, I did plays and I was a singer, and I always was like a soloist doing things in choir. So people knew me around school, but I was also a little strange. And so, that calls for bullying for some reason. When you stick out, for some reason, those who aren't comfortable with your presence, they want to push you down. They want to, I don't know, make you feel like them. And when you can look at a bully for who they really are, that they have gone through some things that have made them into the person they are, and they have shortcomings that one day they will have to deal with. They will have to heal from their personal trauma that they went through that caused them to be a mean person that bullies others today. Then that's how you move past the pain that they give you and into the strength of yourself. And that's really all I can say about that. And then Faith Gibson, my self-esteem is very low from growing up in foster homes, having a mentally ill mother, having my father murdered when I was in the 8th grade, and having abuse from churches. Wow. Now, just that list of life experiences brings a lot of wisdom to you that you have a choice to do something with. You can keep it within you. When we have our life experiences, we could just lock it inside of us and have nobody to talk to about it, or we can slowly process it through our mind, and we can come up with our own realizations over time. But also, you can use your experiences to help others now. And I see that completely. I believe in the wounded healer idea. I am a wounded healer. And in many ways, that's really the only way to become a healer. You have to be somebody that has already been wounded, have figured out how to heal yourself. And then you start to realize, well, the way I heal myself also can work for others too. So I'm sorry that you had to endure that, Faith, but that means to me that you have a resume of life experience now that you won't have to go through in your next incarnation, as long as you figure out the truth of it. Looking at your mother, who she was, without anger, looking at your father without, sadness or regret in many ways that, death can bring, especially him being murdered. And if somehow you can find it in you to release anger or blame onto the person who murdered him, that could be really cleansing in your soul, to your soul, in terms of your soul development. This is not about the other person, because you don't have contact with them. It's about you. It's about cleansing your consciousness, cleansing your soul, to be able to allow the light, the pure light, to come through. And I'm sorry that you had abuse from churches. I know many people have struggled that way. I know not all churches are that. I've had experience going to churches, not as a Christian, but as a friend of Christians that wanted to bring me to try to save my soul. And it was a good experience, but there are some churches that are led by those that are in the darkness, of their own selves. So they have shortcomings and they're in lower consciousness levels. And then they stand in front of an audience of people, and then they try to preach the gospel. And this is where we've had the issues in religion. And so I'm sorry that you had to suffer abuse from either your parents or the churches that you went through. But hopefully now you get a grander experience of spirituality that is not tied to the churches that you grew up with faith. So thank you for being here, and thank you for telling us your story. Bella, it's really hard to move through being bullied, but it really helped me to just connect with other like-minded people. Like this channel and others similar, we're not alone. That's good. Yeah, exactly. All you need to do is just really know that you're not struggling through something on your own, and that we have all been there in some form or another. And look at your bullies too. I mean, I really want to push that idea that we need to look at those who are doing the bullying in a new light. We need to see them as hurt. We need to see them in need of healing. And as Charlie Bartlett movie showed, he took a bully, had a talk with him, and showed him who he truly was inside. And that bully completely changed. So it is phenomenal messages for young people who struggle with bullying, and understand that, the bully is also somebody that has either been abused or has suffered bullying before. Usually a bully doesn't suffer from being bullied at school. They're too scary to others, but it's coming from home. It's definitely a home environment that causes a bully, and they're struggling too. So we need to find a way to reach those people as well. And I believe that we're entering into the new earth with more of that soul-to-soul connection. So there'll be opportunities for that. Thank you for sharing, Bella. And then Kujam, so has any woman had success with being the dominant in a relationship with a man? And then Bella, you answered my question. You said my question, what do you consider a dominant? That's true. I mean, and there might just be a difference of usage of language here in terms of context. Like, what does dominant mean to you? If you mean the one that's controlling or kind of running the shots in a relationship, I would say that no, it's an equal partnership. I mean, a man would resent a woman if they were controlling them just as much as a woman would resent a man if a man was controlling her. It's a total equal partnership. So there's no domination, not in a real marriage. And I say real marriage in terms of one that is a spiritual marriage, not just one, by paper or license or by conveniency, but is one that you chose to bind yourself to this person, like Arwen and Aragorn situation there. And the idea that you really choose that spiritually for yourself. So it has to be equal. And I don't think that domination comes into play. I hope that answered your question there. And then like he says, when you have both energies, masculine and feminine, balanced within yourself, there's no need for that. It's really deep soul alchemy and can create amazing relations. Yep, that's true. And then let's get back to the mental health here. And then I would say a relationship is too complex for me to simplify to say either one leads or follows. Yes, Bella, that is exactly what I was trying to say. But yeah, I think that this is what we're going to do, is just basically give that space to talk, and to really, relate to one another in this way, and slowly show others that there's no such thing as being a freak or being so different that you'll never be accepted. It's not about that. It's about finding your difference and owning that. And that only happened, recently for me, and really coming out like who I really wanted to be. But this is truly what we're here on earth to do, is really to express our creative souls in the way that only we can. I can only express myself in my personal way. You can express yourself in your personal way. And in some ways we can connect. But in a very real way, we are alone in the idea that you have your own thoughts, you have your own visions, and you have your own dreams, and you have your own quirks and things that make you you. But at the same time, we can share thoughts with each other. And I think that is the most important thing. And so I'm happy to provide that space. And then Bella, I appreciate everyone's stories. I think we've all experienced some level of hardships in our lives from being different than the norm. I think so too. And you know what's great about this is, as you share your stories and you put yourself in the chats, or people comment down below, or you listen to my words, somebody will see your words. And in some regard, you will help them. And this is a partnership. It's not just me doing it, it's all of us. And I think that that is really vital to have alongside the Elven Light University. Because let's face it, there's a part of me, I do really want to focus on some of the fun, fairy light magic. I absolutely do, and I will. But at the same time, there's something deep inside of me that tells me that not everybody can join in on that until we reach a place of the light within ourselves. And because that's what the Elven light is. Even though the Elven light, the light from Valinor, is, to Tolkien, it's the afterlife, or this place of, heavenly bliss and beauty, and where the Valar live. But that light is not something that shines down. It's about emitting from the self. And how can you emit light if you are yourself is covered in darkness, in terms of unawareness, not willing to look at things, and not willing to heal, or not knowing how to? And something that you'll just find is that there's really no right and wrong way to heal. But the most valuable type healing that I have discovered and I've seen works for people is really just sharing and learning that you're not alone in your struggle. And so when you get off this video and you're done listening to this, there'll be something inside your mind that will kind of override that negative self-tape. And instead of telling yourself, well, I'm a loser, I'm unlovable, I'm the only one in the world that is a terrible person, and I should just not even exist, nobody cares about me. I mean, these are the types of dark thoughts that we tell ourselves. I've been there. I know those thoughts exist, and I've seen it on comments, on channels. And I've seen it in people, who have talked to me, and I know that it's there. So the way that you rewrite that self-tape of negative talk is writing over it, re-recording positive talk to yourself. And by seeing what you have come through, how you're not supposed to fit in, how you're supposed to be different, how you are lovable because you are love itself in expression and physical form. And when you get to these places of realization within yourself, that's when the light pokes through. That's when the elven light can be emitted from you. So we cannot fully go through the Elven Light University without this alongside. For those that are looking for it, for those that have gone through this already, then so be it. And congratulations. And you could also enjoy the other videos I have, but this will be hopefully for those that are in need of it, or simply just kind of want to hear others that have gone through those experiences. Like for me, it's an absolute joy to have gone through what I have gone through, get to this point of realization in my life, of healing, and then be able to help others with their healing, and also listen to other stories of healing too. It's like this more of a kind of a deeper connection based on healing. It's a whole other level of experience for me. So I'm also, happy to do that too. And then, oh, Bella. Oh, you're still talking about the male and the female. I'll let you talk on that, and on that subject there. But I think that I've said what I've wanted to say. Now you know why I am focusing on this alongside with the Elven Light University. And let's get really deep. Let's talk about our darkness. Let's bring that out. And I'm going to find references from movies or things that are mirrors to us in many ways and show us these deeper spiritual truths. But those 4 movies you have a chance to watch now that I recommend, and I'll put it in the description once again, but An Astral City, A Spiritual Journey, All the Bright Places, and then Charlie Bartlett, and you can watch Hearts of Atlantis. I think that's a good one because it is about being different, and it's about how one man struggles with it and what he does. And there's a real wise way that he does it, in that he doesn't focus on his difference in the terms of feeling outed by society or like an outsider. And he doesn't get mad at others, or he doesn't resent that he's not included by others who don't understand him. He simply shares his gift with those that are willing to listen, and that's in the form of a little boy that he meets and becomes his friend. So it's a really touching movie to watch, based on feeling different and feeling alone and all those things that I think everybody feels at one point in time. But the lesson would be to not try to fit in, to actually use that as an advantage, that you don't fit in. Nobody fits in. We find friends and we find little cliques that we belong to. And sometimes they're for superficial reasons, especially when you're immature and you're just not really sure who you are yet. So you make friends with people that, are into superficial things and maybe just like to party together, but there's no really deep spiritual connection. But as you get to the place where you can recognize that spiritual self within you, and you get to that place of maturity, that's when you start to look for others that you can really bond with and have that really deep spiritual connection. And, I have that with many of you on my channel. And in a way, I can feel your energy, connecting to me. So it's very, very helpful for me. And at the same time, I get a great joy in kind of sharing what I have gone through, so that I'm not just sitting here in my home, feeling this place of peace while others are suffering. And, I want to really help others if I can, and use my time wisely on earth while I'm still here. And I guess that's a very different place than I used to be a long time ago. But now I know what I want to do with my time. So thank you all for joining. And I'm so happy that some of you shared your stories. And I'm glad that we can continue on this journey. And so each video will have a special topic, and we can talk about them as long as we need. And I think, Bella, you have a question. Does the movie Cloud Atlas kind of fit with what you were discussing? It's about reincarnation and meeting the same people. Not really. It's more about, because it's based on the Dark Towers idea, so it's more about psychic energy and having special abilities, and how you stand out in the world, and why it can be a danger, and also why it can be a good thing in terms of bringing you heightened experiences in life. I should say that. That's the thing as the theme. I can't wait to do the Manic Pixie movie, the based of the film character, I guess, the Manic Pixie archetype. But that character is a reflection to all of us that when we are ourselves, when we just show up with all our uniqueness and weirdness, and if we're not intentionally hurting others and we're just being ourselves, then that's beautiful. That's inspiring. And that's what the Manic Pixie is magically showing in a way. And that's why it's called the Manic Pixie. And the pixie part is very connected to the fairy energy, and I'll get more into that on my channel when I discuss it in Mirrors of Reality, because they touched on a particular energy that the fairies have. And it's something that we see in some individuals, and it's written about as being part of, film and literature and all that. People enjoy seeing that film formula together. But I would say that absolutely, share your story, and we will keep on, I guess, being a light for others that are in darkness, and just keep shining it, just keep shining it in the way that you can. And eventually those that are in the dark still, are in the lower consciousness levels, or don't want to look at these things, or want to, focus on fear and pain and tragedy all the time without seeing the light, eventually that light will poke through. It really will. But it's about your consistency, and it's about you honoring the space of others. And so I would say that, just keep on doing that with the people in your life, even if they seem like they're in darkness, just keep being the light for them as an example. And we'll do that on this channel, so that anybody who happens to come by and just stumbles upon the video, they'll see your words, they'll hear mine, and maybe we could help to pierce through their darkness and help them see the light. So thank you all for joining quickly today, and I will see you all on the next video. I'm not sure which one will come next. I don't know if it's going to be the crystal one, or if it's going to be something on mental health, but video topics come to me spiritually and kind of energetically. I just kind of get like a feeling like I need to do this at this time. So we'll see which one comes next. So everyone have a wonderful day, and definitely check out those videos. I will put the names in the description so you can watch some spiritually uplifting videos during this time. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.